Hello, thank you for your time today. We're going to demo RxNT's standalone e-prescribing solution. We'll go ahead and jump right in, and at the end we can provide contact information if you'd like to learn more. If you're a new client, I'll provide sales information, and if you're an existing client, provide you with our support information. RxNT's standalone e-prescriber is cloud-based, allowing you to access RxNT from virtually anywhere, anytime. We would simply give your staff and your physicians their own login and password. They can come to RxNT.com and click Customer Login. RxNT also has its own app for both iOS, which is for iPhone and iPad, as well as our own Android app. So we allow you to e-prescribe from a mobile device, virtually anywhere, anytime. And then finally, RxNT is EPCS certified, and that's an acronym you'll hear throughout today's demo for e-prescribing controlled substances. We'll go through the web-based version. We would simply click Customer Login, in which it would prompt you to enter your username and password that's been provided through RxNT. Upon logging in, you're taken to a universal home screen. This universal home screen would be the same whether I'm a nurse or a physician. I'd be able to see the most recent prescriptions that have been prescribed from our practice. This is in descending order, most recent prescriptions on top. When you e-prescribe and click Send, the system will divert you back to this home screen. It'll highlight in green with the date and a timestamp confirming that the pharmacy received it. This next tab, Pending. You can set up your staff and your nurses to different access levels. You could allow nurses to prepare the prescriptions for the physician. The nurse would write the prescription, but they would essentially queue it up to the physician's pending tab. You could also give the nurse, if you want, the ability to e-prescribe non-controlled medications on behalf of the physician. And this setup is dependent on your practice and your specialty. But if you have a nurse prepare the prescription for the physician's approval, it'll be sent to the physician's pending tab. And all the physician has to do is simply check the box and hit approve. The medication is then transmitted off to the pharmacy. All refills are going to come directly through RxNT. No more phone in, no more fax requests from your pharmacists. They'll all come to this queue, very similar to the pending where you can check the box and approve it. This would be sending the prescription back to the pharmacy. You can also void out a refill request and send a message to that pharmacist, letting them know why you don't want to refill it. You could even add your own free text and comments. We're going to enter into a patient's profile, and we're going to use a demo patient today, Rita Henderson. Upon entering the patient's profile, we have the patient demographic information in the top left. We can also add a patient picture. Below that, down the left-hand side, you'll see the navigation pane with your 4 menu options. We're going to go through the navigation pane first before we generate a prescription. And I'm actually going to start with the Problems tab. RxNT checks for interactions. So we check for drug to diagnoses, drug to allergy, and drug to drug interactions. So it behooves you to keep the meds, problems, and allergies tab up to date. You can easily click the plus sign to add a new diagnosis. Same with the allergies. You can update the allergies by clicking the little plus sign and add them below. The Notes tab, these are small back office notes that pertain to the patient's prescribing habits. For example, we put in here in 2016 that the patient requests refills early. So these are simply back office notes that can be shared between the nurses and physicians. The final tab that I want to go through is the Medications tab. The Medications tab, which defaults when you get into a patient's profile, this is the tab that you would e-prescribe from. You'll notice the right Rx box, and we can search for any medication on the market. Before we do that, let's highlight some other features in this tab. We offer a Fave Drugs tab here. This would allow you to create your own favorites list. So day to day, you're not constantly performing a search to prescribe. Instead, you can just pick and choose from this short menu. To the right of that tab, you'll see the PBM and formulary. RxNT is going to pull in each patient's independent formulary. This is going to come from SureScripts. RxNT works through SureScripts, which is the prescription hub. It connects your prescription with your pharmacy of choice. With SureScripts, we're able to pull in the patient's prescription insurance data for you. And this serves two purposes. When we e-prescribe in just a moment, we'll let you know if the medication will or will not be covered on the patient's insurance. But the second benefit is the history tab. And I want to say that for HIPAA purposes, we are using a patient in a controlled environment. Rita Henderson is not real, which is why you're not seeing a history here. However, this history tab, because of SureScripts, is going to show you a list of every single prescription that has been written to this patient in the past 2 years. And when I say any physician, it's any physician in the country. Even handwritten prescriptions will appear. This is a great starting point. You can always check the meds and click Add to Current Meds, and it's now going to provide you an up-to-date medication list. The previous tab is a list of medications that your organization has previously e-prescribed to this patient. So these are meds simply from you. You can always refill meds right from this list by checking the box of the med and clicking Refill Selected. Then finally, there's the Current Meds tab. This is a list of medications the patient is currently taking. Whether you've e-prescribed, it would update the list for you. Maybe you've pulled in the medications from the History tab. The Current tab is what checks for drug-to-drug interactions. We're now going to go ahead and e-prescribe, and we're going to search for a controlled substance to demonstrate the process. Now, e-prescribing for a controlled substance and a regular medication will be the same, except for the final preview. We're going to do morphine 10. Based on my search, it's going to retrieve all the morphine 10s that are presently on the market. And I can choose any of them. You'll notice the blue bubbles in front of the morphine 10. I'll match that symbol with the formulary key above, letting me know whether that medication will or will not be covered on the patient's insurance. The idea is to prevent any callbacks from the patient. And we're going to go ahead and choose the oral solution. That brings us to the drug information screen. To the right, the coverage, and below that, any alternatives that you might want to choose instead. The bottom left, you'll see the term SIGs. SIGs is another word for custom dosing instructions. You are able to create up to 75 custom SIGs per medication. The FDA will also give you a recommendation. And then lastly, there's Create New SIG. This would allow you to create something from scratch. If there was an interaction, this Interactions tab would be blinking in red to catch your attention. We're going to continue with a recommendation. It brings me to the drug information screen. If this was a custom SIG, we could have bypassed this screen altogether. But I wanted to pause here and go over a few things. First off, there's this icon EPA. we offer electronic prior authorization to confirm, yes, this patient's insurance will cover the medication. Below that, I can edit the dosage. I could add PRN. I could add the quantity, use generic or not. I could save this sig from here for future use. I can type in any pharmacist notes. This is a free text, so I can type in anything that I feel appropriate. I could add a diagnosis to the bottle. And then finally, there's this schedule tab. This would allow you to set up reoccurring prescriptions. And you can set up your own schedule for it. Perhaps we need this prescription every 30 days at 1 p.m. It would then show up in that physician's pending queue from the home screen. All right, I'm going to click cancel and go back. The final selection is the pharmacy search page. Just like we wanted to streamline the prescription process with the custom SIGs, we want to streamline your pharmacy selection. Each user and each physician can save their own favorite pharmacy list. That would show up under the prescriber favorite tab. RxNT will also remember the most recent 15 pharmacies that you've sent this patient to. That would show under the patient favorite tab. And then finally, you can perform a search. You can pull up local pharmacies. For regular medications, non-controlleds, you can e-prescribe to any pharmacy in this list. However, if you want to e-prescribe a controlled substance, Schedule 2 through 5, you need to look at the very last column, type. If there's a checkbox with EPCS, again, that's e-prescribing controlled substances, the pharmacy will accept the controlled substance. We're going to use a demo pharmacy, and we present you with a final preview of what the prescription is going to look like. It has all the physician's information in the top left corner and the physician's digital signature. The prescription process that we just went through is the same, whether I'm a physician or a nurse. The only difference is this final preview. If I'm a nurse and I shouldn't be sending prescriptions on my only capability is to queue it up for the physician's approval. In that case, you would only see the Save as Pending tab. However, I am logged in as a physician because I want to show the final send-off. If it's a non-controlled medication, when you click Send, the prescription's sent and you're finished. However, we did write a controlled substance and I want to demonstrate EPCS. For controlled substances, the DEA requires what they call a two-factor authentication. You're first required to simply re-enter the same password you used to get into the RxNT system. Second, you're required to enter an OTP password, a one-time password. That comes from the token. RxNT offers the token in either a small key fob. This is a standalone device. It's the size of a Tootsie Roll Pop, and it simply generates a random number. Or you can elect to download a third-party app. Now, I did mention that RxNT offers its own e-prescribing app. This is not the same app. This is a third-party app through our token supplier, SafeNet. The DEA expects if you e-prescribe from your mobile device, like your iPhone, you should be retrieving your PIN number from a separate device, which is why RxNT recommends the key fob. Again, I want to share that these token options are only required for controlled substances. Simply enter the OTP and the prescription can then be sent off to the pharmacy. If you're a new client and you'd like to learn more, contact RxNT Sales at 1-800-943-7968, option 3. Or contact us at sales@rxnt.com. If you're an existing client, contact our support team, 1-800-943-7968, option 4. Or at support@rxnt.com. I want to thank you for your time and exploring RxNT's standalone e-prescriber.